Hey guys, welcome back to Bixby's Beer Reviews. Always wonderful to have you here with me. Let's get right into it today. I don't gotta warn you off crazy beers anymore. We've been doing this together enough now that we can just dive right in. Today we got another beer from those crazy Vikings up in North Dakota at Drekker. We've got Currant Plum Cobbler, Slang du Jour. Slang du Jour is their series of what they call sour a la mode, and it's something that I also sort of think of as a cobbler sour, a pie sour, if you will. And once again, we're going to take the same sort of general look at this that we have with other complex sour beers, which is just to break it down into its elements. Now, we looked at the peanut butter and jelly sour, which initially sounded crazy, but what we saw is it was just sort of a smoothie sour and a fruit sour with the smoothie turned up a little bit. Well, this one, it's really just a smoothie sour and a nut beer, which we've also done with the nutty element turned up a little bit more. In this case, we've got the black currant and the plums, that's the fruit element, but we're seeing granola, brown sugar, cinnamon, and vanilla beans in here on that sort of nuttier, more like pie crusty side. And then lastly, it's lactose because again, it's a smoothie sour. So it might seem like an unusual type of beer, but really it's just building on those more elemental sour styles. And so let's crack this one open and take a look at what we got here. So again, y'all notice I'm giving the can a little roll here. Anytime you got a lot of adjuncts in there, and especially if some of them are maybe a little less than completely soluble in liquid, give it a little roll. But let's open this one up. Y'all may have gotten the impression from the way that I talk about heavily adjuncted beers that I don't like them or I don't think that it's a good approach, but that's really not true. I think it can be overdone, but honestly, one of the reasons you keep seeing Drekker beers on here is I think that a lot of their heavily adjuncted beers are good. And in fact, this is probably my favorite heavily adjuncted beer style. I've seen other breweries do these kind of cobbler sours too, but I think that these guys kind of do it the best. And this is the latest edition of it that I've seen, so let's take a look here. You can see the plums and the black currants highly in evidence. It is a very, very purple beer with some slightly blue highlights, fun set of colors to see in your beer. Very, very light bit of head there. It's not perfectly still by any means, but it's not heavily carbonated. We want to have like the full range of fruit and of other sweet kind of granola flavors come through there. So that's what it looks like. Let's go ahead and give it a smell. So this beer's aroma leans heavily towards its granola, brown sugar, cinnamon elements. It's sort of pie or cobblerish elements. I can tell there's sweet fruit in here, and I do smell the black currants in particular. Currants, one of my favorite fruits to see made into a jam. It's what I like to have on my morning toast sometimes, and they're there in the background, but really it's the kind of more nut elements that are shining here. That granola and cinnamon gives it a really rich, desserty quality, and it's a very intense aroma. It really gets at you right away. So smells wonderful. Let's go ahead and give it a taste. What I love about their approach to this cobbler or pie sour style is they absolutely deliver both the fruit and the crust of the cobbler. So in contrast to the very granola heavy aroma, there's a lot more balance between the fruit elements and the granola elements in the flavor. I certainly get the fruit more up front here. It's a combination of some sweeter fruit flavors, the currant a little bit more sweet, the plum almost a little bit more tart, which is a pleasing contrast in itself. And then the granola and the cinnamon and the other spices, the pie spices, are still there on the back end to give you that balance, to give you that pie impression. And it all comes together because this has a pretty medium to medium heavy body. It's not the thickest smoothie sour I've ever had, but it's certainly getting up there. But as I've talked about before, one of the great things about a sour that has a lot of adjuncts is when done right, it can create something that's more than the sum of its parts. And it gives the impression of a flavor that isn't usually found in beer, but is more associated with another type of food, like in this case, pie or cobbler. And I think that that's exactly what they've done here. And I've seen Drekker do this consistently with their a la mode series, whereas a lot of these adjuncts are hard to use. And sometimes I see beers that have cinnamon or other spices in them that come in too thin, and you get sort of a acerbic or a dry biting quality to the spices. And I've seen ones that go too heavy on the fruit, so they're overly sweet and you don't really get anything more than sort of a fruited smoothie sour impression. So I think Drekker's really nailed this particular niche style of sour beer that I love so much. Whether you want to have pie in a glass, really up to you, as is how much you like any beer. But in this case, I'd give you a sort of an extra encouragement to seek out a la mode or pie or cobbler style sours. Because again, I think the best ones bring that wonderful contrast between the pie and spice in a way that's really pleasing. So thanks for joining me for this beer. Really look forward to seeing you next time. And until then, bye now.